Right. So welcome everyone. My name's Matt Bailey. I'm a client director at Espria on the infrastructure and cloud. 20. I was just saying to Andy, 25 years of working within the business. So I've worked with Veeam as a platform for quite a number of years now, and we've sort of seen the evolution of those that used to perhaps use backup exec and whatever on their servers, and obviously with the generation of Microsoft 365, we obviously we're now in the realms of differentiating tools that perhaps come in built within the Microsoft platform to actually tools that you'll need around around sort of backing up the whole platform really. So I said Andy Painter works for Veeam, and he's worked with a number of vendors in the Magic Quadrant over a number of years. So has a vast wealth of experience around working with enterprise class tools. And hopefully the presentation today is all based around the sort of the protection of your Microsoft 365 platform and the benefits of utilizing the Veeam backup platform and architecture for that. As I said earlier on, if there's any questions that you'd like to ask, then please put them in the chat. And then at the end of that, Andy will have a Q&A session. So thanks very much, and it's over to you.
Perfect. So 2 seconds. The constraints of one screen. Let me flick onto the slideshow. Before we get started, I'll just say there's a few slides. It should keep it at a pretty high level. So if you've got any specific questions afterwards, as Matt says, we can take those offline. But yeah, so Andy Painter, partner manager at Veeam. I've been here a couple of years. As Matt says, I've worked at a couple of vendors now. Not quite 25 years though, but yeah, it kind of feels like it on some days. But yeah, let's take a look at Microsoft 365 and what Veeam can do to help you protect that data. So every year Veeam commission a number of independent surveys where we go out to market. So some of the data points that I'll pull or we'll talk about will be from them. They're all referenced in the slide deck that will be shared with you, and they're also available on veeam.com, and you can speak to myself or Matt and we can point you at those. But it's important to recognise that 80% of attacks involve Microsoft 365 apps, and that's not really that astounding when you consider that traditionally the way cyber criminals have chosen to attack customers is through email, and Microsoft 365 being the prominent email platform now. There's still that's kind of the prominent way that people are trying to attack customers. 53% of the customers that we surveyed had suffered some form of corruption on a SaaS application throughout the last 12 months, and 25% of those customers weren't able to recover 100% of their data in the instant of a data loss. So cyber attacks are not the only thing that can cause data loss. There's a variety of things that can go wrong, and there's a consensus between SaaS admins and backup admins that this is the case. So the top being cybersecurity, but we also have things like compliance, regulatory requirements, the better restoration, the ability to restore data when it's needed, and also that kind of malicious insider threats, simple things like accidental deletion and retention. So these are the kind of things that people are considering within that Microsoft 365 platform. I guess where kind of the prevalence of Veeam and the rise of this has come from is this misconception that kind of still exists today within the market, that as a Microsoft 365 customer, Microsoft take care of everything for you. And the reality is that Microsoft operates something that's kind of commonly referred to as the shared responsibility model, and that's where Microsoft are effectively responsible for the uptime of the platform, for the infrastructure, but the data that resides in it is actually still the responsibility of yourselves as customers. So without having a backup of your 365 data, a lot can go wrong when you don't have control of it. You can limit access to and control of your own data. It can leave you exposed from a regulatory perspective. You can lead to security vulnerabilities if that data becomes compromised within Microsoft, and it can leave gaps for retention and data loss. So kind of our tagline for this is it's your data, you control it, and therefore, it's on you. You need to protect it. So just looking at the solution that Veeam has when we're taking care of 365 data, we protect data within Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams. We can also protect the on-premise Exchange and SharePoint environments with the solution as well. So what are the kind of capabilities that Veeam has within this? Well, obviously it's protecting your 365 data, being able to quickly restore, either be that in bulk or individual files at speed and flexibility when you need to. And being able to meet those legal and compliance requirements with things like fast search and find capabilities, so that you can get access to the data when you need it and quickly. So kind of what do we feel like makes Veeam different from some of our competitors in this market? Infrastructure freedom. So Veeam's kind of what's commonly referred to as a bit of a data mover. So we're taking your data from point A to point B. Now in this case, that point B can really be whatever you define it to be that on premise, moving your 365 data out of Microsoft and into another cloud environment, or ultimately using a SaaS solution, which Aspire can provide you as a Veeam cloud service provider. They can provide you both that ability to move the data and the storage that sits behind it. But what we're trying to do ultimately is offer options and freedom and kind of avoid that kind of black box lock-in that we see sometimes with either vendors providing a hardware solution or a SaaS solution where you're kind of locked into kind of what they're doing. So backup control, that's kind of all around our RPOs. Veeam offers RPOs as low as 5 minutes, so being able to restore data really, really quickly, and it gives you that option to kind of tailor your 365 backups to kind of the personas that exist within the organization. Not everyone is going to require the same granularity and the same frequency of backup, but what you can do is pick out those kind of high profile users where we need to have those kind of that frequency and make that super easy with kind of like wizard driven to be able to schedule things and get it sorted. And yeah, that recovery flexibility. So we have, I think at the minute in the platform with version 7 around 50 different recovery options, and that's going to be from like super granular individual file all the way to those kind of like multiple users, bulk restores all at one time. There's also some additional kind of save, send and export options. So from a compliance perspective, you can get data back in different formats and data back to the people that need it. So just to kind of expand on that, kind of why built-in isn't enough anymore. So data center replication isn't gonna, it's not gonna protect you from a data loss. The data center replication is built in to prevent downtime in the infrastructure itself from Microsoft. That's not going to alleviate anything from data loss, even from a cyber attack or from accidental deletion, things like that. 365 has a recycle bin built in. Ultimately, that's just allowing you to recover things that have accidentally deleted for a very short, limited amount of time. There is also sort of things like legal lock that you can enact from a compliance perspective, but that's also just creating a copy of that data that then still exists within 365. So in the event of a cyber incident or any kind of deletion scenario, you still haven't got that that clean copy that's offsite, that's somewhere else that you can easily restore from. So there is some things that Microsoft are building in, but it's not going to give you that complete peace of mind. And yeah, I mean the security protection again that's provided by Microsoft is for the platform, it's for the infrastructure itself. It's not as a security protection from things like ransomware and against any kind of threat from your data. And finally, issue solved with support ticket. I mean, that's kind of referencing the idea that when something goes wrong, you're kind of beholden to the time frame of Microsoft. So if you do have a problem, you know, there is something that's gone wrong, maybe there's something that's been deleted, or you then need to raise a ticket, raise that onto Microsoft, and you're kind of beholden to that time frame. And with Veeam and having a kind of an offsite or a secondary copy of your data, you're able to restore really simply with a matter of few clicks. This is kind of our rah-rah slide, but I think it's really important from a credibility perspective to understand where we kind of sit within the market. So yeah, no third-party backup vendor has more 365 mailboxes protected than Veeam. We're the largest globally in the market with 16 million now. As Matt referenced at the beginning, you know, Gartner Magic Quadrant, we've been there for 7 years now. That slide needs updating for 2023, but super credible, and we kind of get the accolades from the industry that show that. And we're also a gold Microsoft partner. So as I say, you know, it's a bit of a whistle stop today of quite a quick, just few slides. But I think, you know, the takeaway kind of we want to give you when you're working with Veeam is Veeam gives you options. You know, we've built this solution not only for 365, but our other data center solution around, you know, offering customers flexibility and giving them the ability to, you know, deploy this as a service, you know, manage it themselves, be that on-prem in the cloud. Really, we want you to tailor our software to kind of meet your needs, and you know, every business's needs are different, and that's why we've kind of really focused on the flexibility that it can bring. And yeah, that's about all I've got for you today. So I guess we'll pause now for any questions.
I mean, I guess I've got a question. I mean, traditionally, the way to procure Veeam has been to sort of buy a license and then you kind of get software assurance for 1, 2, 3 years or whatever. But I know that there is some flexibility around licensing the in particular the Veeam backup for Office 365. What are the couple of options around that?
So I mean, the licensing model itself is super simple. So it's just on a per user basis. But I think the flexibility that you're referring to there is exactly around that. That when, you know, when Veeam very deliberately, when it came to market with a solution, didn't come to market with a SaaS product, which a lot of our competitors did. We kind of stuck to our roots, which was providing that piece of software which allows our customers to move data. What we did do was partner with a number of organizations like Aspria, who then offer that, you know, effectively the Veeam backup, but delivered as a SaaS. So
yeah.
What the guys at Aspria can do for you is take the kind of the management process out of that, so they can offsite your 365 backups into their data center and protect them there, or you can do that kind of traditional, I guess, vanilla Veeam, which is, you know, buy the software license and then choose your own storage target. We find that because 365 is a SaaS application, the trend has kind of been to want to offshoot it and go with the SaaS backup, which I think is what you guys do really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've kind of retained both of those options rather than going down one avenue.
No, absolutely. I mean, we recognise the flexibility, especially with this sort of consumerisation of technology nowadays, that people tend to like the monthly billable type model, and that's certainly something that Aspria offers. You know, the capabilities, especially around Veeam, to tie in with any sort of 365 type areas. I mean, also just from a security perspective, I mean, I've certainly sort of, you know, trumpeted the feature richness you've got of the platform. In version 7, there was things around sort of immutability really, and the backups really sort of firewalled the you know, the sort of backup of and security risk. Can you just sort of talk about very briefly around that sort of feature of immutability backups and perhaps what that kind of may provide?
I've worked at Veeam for 2 years now, and I feel like the word I've said the most in my life for the last 2 years has been immutability. And it's kind of been it wasn't necessarily as much a thing for 365, although you're absolutely right. We built it into version 7 because there's been this massive industry trend towards immutable copies of data. So they're copies of data that you don't have the ability to change. So you enact something, and it depends on the storage, but we have features such as like object lock. So you create or you give the backup the option to become immutable, and then you lock it to the storage. And what that's giving customers is peace of mind that when you create an immutable backup, it cannot be subject to change, and therefore it's not going to be corrupted. We're taking a copy of your data, we're enacting no changes to it, and we're taking it off site and we're putting it under lock and key. And yeah, I think especially with the rise of prevalence of ransomware and things like that, that kind of peace of mind that comes with immutability has been key, and it's been a real market driver. So I didn't necessarily think we'd see it as much in 365 as we have recently. We've done a couple of things recently with police forces who've upgraded theirs from version 6 to version 7 to have that ability to create the immutable 365 backup. So yeah, it's a trend for us, and it's an industry trend being driven by very security conscious.
Absolutely, but I think that security compliance piece is not just in the enterprise. That's the thing is so for me, I mean, we have clients that that have thousands of users utilizing the Veeam backup for Office 365. We also have an organization of 5, so it's very scalable in terms of its capabilities, but both ends of the spectrum both have that capability of security, and that's the important thing. Is you don't have to be enterprise to actually gain that. It's already part of the platform, so it's great to have that as a cyber essentials tick in the box, or whatever as an organization you tend to have, really. So it's really powerful, I think.
And that's kind of, I mean, other than the couple of options we discussed, that's kind of the beauty of Veeam, and that's one of the things that drew me to when I first started working at Veeam. Is you're absolutely right. We don't kind of have a tiering of features here. We offer the same features from, I mean, the birth of Veeam kind of came out of SMB and mid-market, right? That's where we kind of rose to provenance and came to kind of the market position we are today. And staying true to those roots, the same feature sets are available of organizations of 5 or 5,000. They're using the same product. And there's no tiering.
And
it's an interesting point, Matt, because one of the things I guess that slide, it's slightly out of date now, because since we brought this kind of slideware and we came out with version 7, Microsoft have actually announced they're going to have their own backup for 365, and at the minute there's there's not a great deal of detail around that. I mean, we've always seen them, and they kind of see us as a key partner on both sides. And the reason these products exist, right, is the integration that they kind of allow us to have within that solution. So there is something coming to market next year, actually, from Microsoft themselves. Now, as I say, the details are a little bit scarce at the minute, and I'll be interested to see what that looks like when it comes out. But it's a good point. If anyone on the call is, are you currently backing up your 365 data? If you are, is there a solution you're using? Do you like it? It would be good to kind of hear some feedback.
Thank you for taking the time to listen around the feature richness of the Veeam backup for Office 365. We're certainly finding with a lot of our community users that they're not just using the inherent tools just within the platform, and typically looking at best of breed, and certainly using Gartner as a yardstick to find the right tools to meet their business requirements. So from my point of view, as I mentioned earlier on, I've been working with Veeam and worked within the Spree for 25 years. If there's anybody that wants to message me separately just around our capabilities, not only to support Veeam, but obviously any capability requirements or questions you have around the Veeam backup, then please feel free to reach out to me. And thank you very much for taking 25 minutes of your time just to listen to an update from Veeam. So